Hello and welcome back to Perspectives. On today's show, we have our usual roundup of the big stories around the world relevant to the Sikh community. And as the anniversary of 9/11 passes, we interview the Sikh Motorcycle Club, commemorating the tragic events of 21 years ago. And here in the UK, as the country witnesses arguably its largest ever public protest over the weekend, we see the British Sikh community angrily divided. Indeed, even a whole nation angrily divided. Ordinary people angrily divided by an outrageous rape of a Sikh girl by right-wing thugs. Even ordinary US citizens angrily divided over a terrible cold-blooded political assassination in recent days. And even the whole Western world being angrily divided by the single political issue of immigration. Are you starting to see a theme developing? Well, we look into just what is going on. And maybe a message from one solitary Sikh voice over the weekend just has it right. Wake up, because we're all being played. All this and more on today's show. But joining me, as always, is our very own correspondent in Canada, James Cousineau. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Angus, and it is morning here. Go figure. As we record on the different time zones, you in London, me in Vancouver, it is a fun thing to schedule. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that we are getting wound up to start going live. And as that happens, we are going to want to know what time zones are most important for you as the viewers. So again, let us know what time zone you're watching from so that we can better understand what our timing is going to be and try to schedule it accordingly for the majority to be able to tune in live with us. Back to you, Angus.
Indeed, and James and I together will be bringing you our perspectives today on the daily news affecting the Sikh community across the world, and we'll take a look at loads of your great comments at the end of the show, so do stay tuned for that. Right, James, let's get underway. What are you going to start us off with this morning?
This past weekend, actually, September the 11th, just the end of last week, but after we had finished our weekly programs, I paid a visit to the 9/11 memorial event that actually happened in one of the only international parks. Now, the Peace Arch Park and Border Crossing actually straddles the Canada-US border, with half of the park in the US, half of the park in Canada, with a big Peace Arch in the middle marking the dividing line. Now, citizens of the US and citizens from Canada can gather and mingle within the park without having to go through customs and immigration and all of that fun stuff. However, they do keep an eye out to make sure that you're not just using it as an illegal crossing. With that said, though, plenty of people from both sides of the border, civilians, former military members and veterans, as well as law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders gathered at the Peace Arch border crossing. There were also several motorcycle gangs, or motorcycle clubs, my apologies, I shouldn't call them gangs, motorcycle clubs that actually came together as part of their community service and their spirit of supporting the victims of 9/11 and other tragedies that have happened. Of course, we know that the Sikh Motorcycle Club in Canada and the US is very much involved in all different aspects of community assistance. They have been working their tails off, or for the motorcycles, I guess their tailpipes, in terms of supporting not just victims of 9/11, not just local communities and needs within the diaspora, but also assisting with the floods in both India and Pakistan. So again, the Sikh Motorcycle Club and the Sikh community has come together. They were there in numbers to show their support at the memorial this year, and in attendance there were different law enforcement, as I said, different agencies, different citizens, veterans, and so forth. And it was a very emotional tribute, as a firefighter from New York also paid tribute to his co-workers, as he was just a rookie at the time of the 9/11 tragedies. So let's take a look at a video as we were there to take in what was going on, Angus.
First of all, thank you very much on behalf of Sikh Motorcycle Club. We are very, very pleased that 24 years ago, what had happened in New York, for that we are remembering from last 24 years. For those people who lost their lives, especially the firefighters and the local people who are just working on those towers lost their lives, lost the young ones, and especially all those firefighters which have a choice not to jump on those towers, but they had sacrificed their lives for those who all those who have lost their lives, all those supports from that many years. On behalf of Sikh Motorcycle Club, this ride has been organized by the different organization from when they started. Then they switched to some other organizations, but Sikh Motorcycle Club has just one aim, that we always want to come of these type of these type of events, just because we want that those things what had happened should not be happened, and we should remember for those who lost their lives at 9/11. That's why we are here. Now all the ceremonies, everything happens from last year's, and it will happen, but eventually the main goal is that we should not forget 9/11. That is the motto of the Sikh Motorcycle Club. Thank you.
Excellent. We know that, of course, the Sikh organizations were very instrumental in relief efforts and helping people through it, not only in New York, but when planes were landing all over the world, that you guys were out there in numbers to help those people. So that, of course, we know is part of community service and giving back and empowering people. But what do you think is the most important message for the young people today that don't remember what happened after 9/11?
Yes, the one thing we always not to forget, that Sikh people are there to help. Doesn't matter, doesn't worry about the race, religion, whoever needs a help. The Sikhs are there to help. This is the first thing I just want to clear. Doesn't matter which race, what type of help, we just get collected and contribute whatever we can in that stage. And the message I just want to convey, not to the Sikh, all to the community, that whenever, whoever needs a help, we should contribute it, collectively, because of one person will just help so much. But when you just contribute, and collective efforts will pays off. And always we should, what we have sown, that message should be passed on to the next generation, so that they will know the importance that it is not just a bike just to ride it. It is the organization which can help in each and every field. Doesn't matter what type of match. Right now there is a flood in Punjab, India. Sikh Motorcycle Club, all the Sikh all over the world just help, to help those in whichever fields, if they need financially help, which need foods help, whatever, it is there. So it is very, very easy that if we contribute all together and wants to help, we can do it. So this is the message to the young Canadians, that we should always there to help. Doesn't matter whatever the portion you can put in that donation or any type of help, we should do that. And we should never forget these type of events, because if we will forget, then the same situation can happen in again. But if we will not forget and we will just remember, no, these things should not be happen, so that everyone in this world can live in peace and calm. That is the message from Sikh Motorcycle.
Absolutely. And yeah, with the flooding in both on the India side and the Pakistan side, with being in Punjab, of course, we know that there are a lot of historic monuments, and the Gurdwaras have been flooding. But of course, the Sikhs are both sides, doesn't matter who. You guys are stepping up to help everybody. And that's amazing. So I will let you guys go, as it sounds like they are.
I just want to say at the end, from all the members from Sikh Motorcycle Club, collectively we want to send prayers to the families that lost their loved ones in 9/11. So prayers to all the families.
Excellent. Very
Thank you.
important message.
Thank you.
With this procession, the entire Canadian contingency, along with some mixed from the U.S. as well, joined as they did the march from that starting point at the park right down to the actual Peace Arch itself. And we'll have more video available on our Substack for those interested in seeing more with the audio and all of that fun stuff from the event. But again, our thoughts are with all of the families that lost loved ones and co-workers and all the others that bravely were there at the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and other locations on 9/11. So our thoughts are always with them, and we'll never forget the sacrifice that they made. Now, as we move on throughout the different stories, of course, we'll have a couple of images showing up on the screen of the different scenes from the event on 9/11. But as we look at those, we will move on with our stories today. We're going to keep it brief just because we have to keep the show rolling. But I wanted to touch base with the current condition at the Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Punjab. Now, the Army Chief and Field Marshal Saeed Asim Manir has made a personal visit to the location and has committed from the Pakistan Army side that they are going to work forthwith and right away to try and restore it to its original condition before the floods hit. So the commitment and the dedication on the Pakistan side is just amazing, how they are coming together to meet with the Sikh community, see what they need, see how they can assist, and offering them whatever resources are required to do that restoration and make sure that it is brought back to the amazing place that it is, an international cultural hub, and that is something worth preserving. So again, we'll have more on all of these stories on our Substack, but we want to keep moving along here, so we will do that. Sorry, I just got to see if I can... There we go. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, well, anyways, we will leave the image. Oh, there we go. It's popping up, but it's bizarre. Anyways, we'll just leave that as is for a quick moment while we get moving on with the other stories here. So we'll...
Yeah, apologies to our audience. As you can clearly see, we're still coming to grips.
It's just a little technical issue with the screen sharing, so that's okay. If you want to go to a different screen there, Angus, if you can just maybe just go to us or something, and that's fine, and we'll just move along as I read out some of the top stories here and keep the show going. So, as I said, the Pakistan government and the military is offering assistance to the Sikh community to try and help them to really ensure that this happens not only in its total restoration and repairs, but also that it happens quickly and with the proper level of attention to ensure that it's longevity, not just a quick patch to move it forward. Now, as we look also over the weekend, there were some harsh lights that were cast on the dual realities of the Sikh diaspora experience. And that is whether in the UK, the community was forced to confront the specter of violence and racially motivated hate. Just a horrible, horrible scene there. And the diaspora organizations mobilized also to show that they are a part of the community on not just a local but a global scale. Several of the organizations throughout the UK, the US, and Canada came together to raise money for different resources and needs in terms of the flooding victims. Now, in Canada, Red FM here in Surrey, British Columbia, but they have stations across the nation. They were up to $2.2 million Canadian the last time I checked. So again, amazing numbers that they were able to fundraise through the Red FM channel. So congratulations to them, an amazing job, well done. Khalsa Aid has also been working with on-the-ground rescue, food, water, and animal feed, and helping farmers and so forth. So they are very much involved on the with boots on the ground there. The United Sikhs in the UK, they were doing fundraising and long-term village adoption. So they are going beyond not just the 32,601 pounds raised of the $40,000 target or pound target. They are also making a long-term commitment to adopt villages to help them get restored, rebuild the homes, the little businesses and that. And that, again, is just a major goal to really embark upon, and congratulations to them. I wish them well in that. So again, if you have the ability to donate online, by all means you can find these organizations online and make online contributions. Syria Foods and World Food Aid in the UK, they are sending food relief parcels, and so far they have dispatched out over 1,500 parcels for those impacted in the region. Radio Hanji in Australia, fundraising initiatives raised 50,000 Australian dollars, so congratulations to them. Again, these organizations, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in those regions and you wish to make a contribution, you can just Google search them. Again, the list will be on our Substack, so if you want to get the name of an organization, whether it is United Sikhs or Radio Hanji or Red FM, you'll be able to find that on there as well. But just an amazing show of support from the Sikh community once again around the world to help the victims of the flooding. Again, just amazing work. Now, I'm going to just scroll down because we have little bits of time, but lots of stuff to cover. So I will leave a lot of this for you to check out in the Substack. And I know that Angus is going to be covering some of this as well. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of headlines. But our big focus was, of course, the 9/11 story tonight. Now, Nepal, let's take a quick look there. That new interim leader has been appointed after a youth-led Gen Z protest. That, of course, we know has forced the previous leader out, and a new leader, interim-wise, has been appointed. And that is a dramatic political transformation that's following days of that violent youth-led anti-corruption protests. And they've been dubbed the Gen Z movement, as we said in the top there. The widespread unrest, which is tragically resulted in at least 72 deaths thus far, led to the collapse of the government in the wake of the political vacuum. Now, Nepal's president dissolved the parliament and appointed former Supreme Court Chief Justice Shyala Karki, as the interim prime minister. So at this point, there is a historical change going on, but how much change we'll have to wait and see, depending on who becomes the stable leader once they move forward to make that transition. Now, in terms of our world of climbing and rising tensions, the specific events impacting the Sikh community this weekend did not just occur in isolation. They are deeply embedded in a wider and broader global context of rising political polarization, extremism, and violence, particularly in Western democracies. The convergence of a political assassination in the United States and violent far-right demonstrations in the United Kingdom is a signal of dangerous trends that have direct and severe implications for the safety and security of all minority communities, including the Sikh diaspora. In the U.S., of course, Angus, I believe, will be talking about Charlie Kirk and the assassination of this prominent American conservative leader and activist. And at this point, it's just amazing to me, and forgive me for this, but I just really am disappointed in the priorities of Americans, that on the same day there was another school shooting. And although there was fortunately only one fatality, and I say fortunate because others were injured, but were able to make progress and move towards recovery from the injuries. But With that said, very little was covered about that tragedy in the US, in Canada. Instead, it was all about Charlie Kirk and the politics, and the division and divisiveness of both sides has been just horrific. Instead of people coming together to unite, it seems to be just a powder keg waiting to explode with more anger and hatred and I really, really beg people to instead take a moment, take a breath, regroup, and try to find a way to let this be a guiding light to a more peaceful resolution and acceptance of other people's opinions. I personally don't agree with anything really that this individual had to say, but in no way, shape, or form could I ever support somebody taking violent action against him for the words that he speaks. I instead just tuned out. I don't watch his channel. I didn't watch his show. I just chose not to pay attention to it. And that's what we have to learn, is that we can have differing opinions while still respecting each other's rights to have those opinions and to share them publicly without the fear of violence or any type of retribution when we are just exploring or expressing ourselves freely as it should be. Now, at this time, of course, his company was worth $85 million. He was personally worth $12 million. And yet the Americans have gone as far as fundraising for his wife and children and raised another over $6 million within the first 36 hours after his unfortunate demise. And to me, I just have a hard time looking at fundraisers for millionaires when there's so many people that are just struggling, and people that are giving money to the millionaires are stepping over or on people in need in order to do that. So that's just my opinion on that. But again, it doesn't give anybody the right to exercise political violence or anything else. And that is whether it's in the United States, whether it's in Canada, or anywhere else around the globe. So again, I feel bad. A mother is going to have to raise her children alone. The daughters are going to have to grow up not knowing their father. And that's a horrible day in any world's politics when that happens, Angus.
Yes, indeed, James. And I'm going to talk quite a lot shortly about political division and this polarization of society that we are seeing increasing amounts of. And I want to just focus actually really on the good stories I think you brought up there. Firstly, the Sikh Motorcycle Club. I mean, how fantastic. I mean, what a great example, a great message that sends out to a wider community. Here you have a gang of motorcyclists. I'm using that word deliberately because gangs of motorcyclists have such a terrible reputation, don't they, in amongst normal people. But look, I mean, you've interviewed these guys. These guys are the absolute cream of society. They are really, these are the best people in our society. They're going out of their way.
And I've met a bunch of this group, many different locations and events. They are always doing something for the community. I mean, it's just phenomenal, Angus.
Exactly. And talking about changing stereotypes, they are almost single-handedly changing the stereotype of motorcycle gangs, clubs, groups, whatever. Pick your word. It doesn't matter. It's the results. It's their actual actions that really count. And their actions speak volumes. And also, we mustn't forget, let's put this in context. They are out there commemorating those terrible events of 9/11. And if we remember, who was the first victim of a hate crime post 9/11? It was as a Sikh man. It was a Sikh in the United States. He was attacked, I think it was a gas station, by some random idiots who, obviously angered by the events of 9/11, saw somebody in a turban and thought, oh, he's one of them Muslim types, isn't he? In complete ignorance. And this, of course, just sums up, this really just summarizes the main issue, that the hate crime issue that the Sikh community have, is that they're just wrapped up with Muslims and every other ethnic minority because they look different. And this is the challenge that the Sikh community have always had, is trying to look, we are Sikhs, this is who we are, this is what we represent, our turbans, etc., the 5Ks, etc., this represents everything that we are. And this is why we exist, is to try and educate a wider audience. This is who these people are and what they represent. They are good people and they bring and they contribute so much to our society. And groups like the motorcyclists, again, they are doing this. They're out there, they're visible, they're being seen, and their actions are actually having such a positive impact on improving that image and actually educating people. This is what we're about. Savor, the whole concept of savor, again, is just a quietly understated thing but that has such a disproportionately positive impact on society, because the Sikh community is seen being out there again in places of need, whether it's the Punjab floods, whether it's earthquakes in Afghanistan or wherever it is. The Sikh community, the Sikh charities are just quietly always there, getting on, dishing out aid. And again, I think the frustration maybe for the community, but certainly for people like us, is people don't see this enough. People are not recognizing enough just how much these people, this community, is contributing to our society in such a positive way. And then, as I say, counter that, and this is in the context of it was a Sikh who was the first victim, fatality of a hate crime post 9/11. And yet, despite that, they are out there commemorating that very same thing. And one thing that slightly upset me, actually, I have to say, was they're talking about the young. Of course, it happened so long ago, and it seems like yesterday, those terrible events. And he was saying, it was the young now who might not even have, they won't remember it because it was 21 years ago. So it's quite frightening, actually, just how quickly time passes, but how easily we can forget. And again, this is what the Sikh community are very good at. They're very good at making sure that people don't forget, whether it's 1984, whether it was 9/11 and all these events, or whether the events of Shaheeds in the past, Jaswant Singh Kalra. We can rattle off hundreds of great names and their heroic stories. The gentleman sitting behind me, Janal Bindranwale. People like this must never be forgotten. Events must never be forgotten, because we must not be cursed to repeat the past. And that is what the Sikh community are very good, as one of our commenters made recently. Sikhs remember. Absolutely they do. They must remember. And they must remind other people outside the community of why we need to remember these sorts of things, James.
Absolutely. And I mean, it is crazy to think that it was 24 years ago. It is, just such a long time ago. And I remember when I saw the news that early morning in Vancouver, North Delta, I called the school and had my kids come back home, and my youngest was still in diapers. And, I just remember wanting to spend the day with them. And then I also spent time helping people to get accommodations that were being turned away from U.S. airports. They had to land in Canada. So it was one of those things that it just shows how close Canada and the U.S. are, that we are always going to be there for each other. But the sadness of all of the lives lost, and we got to make sure that it's never forgotten, especially as we start to transfer to this, the new generation, and they are the leaders of tomorrow. But we have to make sure that they know the past, so that they don't repeat it, just like the gentleman were saying in the video.
Indeed, and maybe actually there is a lesson to the youth of Punjab, because it was interesting, of course, that story about Nepal, the Gen Z, and if you actually just look at the details of what happened in Nepal, it's quite incredible. It was, and it's very similar. It's actually many of the uprisings in Eastern Europe, etc. It was the young who created these revolutions. Believe it or not, the young generation have the power, literally, to change the world, and maybe the people, the young of the Punjab, need to remember that lesson, and maybe the community of the Punjab should maybe just stir up the young, get that young anger, that young passion, and that young energy, targeting. Let's build a nation for ourselves. Who knows, James? But anyway, let's move on. I want to move on to the story that I'm going to cover today. And you've already touched on it a lot, James, about the polarization of politics in the Western world, the polarization of society. It is really shocking what's going on. We are actually, I believe, going through a very significant seismic change in society at the moment. I believe actually there is a lot of stuff going on beneath the surface that only a little bit is appearing in the public domain, and I think we are facing quite serious societal upheavals. Now, I'm going to just focus on a terrible sort of a few stories just to highlight just what is going on. And I said in the introduction, I talked about angry division developing in our society. Angry division is developing all over, whether it is in the US, of that terrible shooting of a politician, Kirk. I mean, again, as you said, James, it's completely unforgivable. It doesn't matter what the guy's views were. You cannot go around assassinating somebody who you disagree with. That is not how modern society is supposed to work. It's not how civilized society works. And yet we are seeing this hatred, this growing hatred. Now, here in the UK, we had a terrible, an awful incident in recent days. It was last week. There was a rape of a young girl, a young Sikh girl. She was raped by two guys. And the story is, and I'm just showing some scenes here. This is actually sadly where it occurred. I think reportedly the lady was in her 20s. She was raped allegedly by two right-wing racists who shouted at her, "You don't belong here," or something, or "Go home," or something along those sort of lines. In other words, it does seem to be a hate crime. It wasn't just an outrageously awful sexual assault on a woman. It was also a hate crime, which in itself, I mean, the two angles to this. Firstly, the sexual assault is unforgivable in any context. But secondly, of course, is the aspect, this allegation that it was two right-wing idiots, criminals who perpetrated this and shouted racist abuse just to rub salt into the wound. Now, in response to this, the local Gurdwara in Smethwick has made a stand, and actually there was they've issued this statement. Is a deep concern that we share news of this attack. The Gurdwara is committed to safeguarding the dignity and security of all who attend, serve, or who belong here. The police are seeking one man, and apparently overnight, and just seeing in the news this morning, one man has been apparently arrested, and of course the Gurdwara, on behalf of the community, is unsurprisingly, look, you've got to act on this. Appealing to the police, you've got to move fast on this, and then it says to the community that you've got to stay vigilant, support each other, remain calm, but be prepared. Our strength lies in unity. Important that. Fear and division undermine our values. Seek support if you experience distress. I want to highlight one specific sentence there. Fear and division undermine our values. Remember that statement as I continue. And as a result of this, the community organised yesterday afternoon, there was a community demonstration, and there are videos now on social media showing a good turnout from the community. And it was an angry turnout, I have to say, and rightly so. I mean, of course, the community in the locality are absolutely, they're spitting blood about this. And who wouldn't be? I mean, the crime itself was just, it was beyond disgusting. And of course, it was seen as a hate crime. And unsurprisingly, this has driven a huge amount of anger in the local community. Why wouldn't it? Absolutely it should. Now, as awful as this crime was, it's not the only one that's happened in recent days. There have been a spate of increasing far-right attacks. We've got this. I'm showing up a few pictures here. There was a Gurdwara that was graffitied by the BNP. That's a far right organisation. There's a Nazi swastika there. There's now calls to protect Gurdwaras after these anti-immigration rallies, saying that people are now targeting Gurdwaras. I don't know how true that is, but again, even just the suspicion, the feeling of it is enough to instill fear again. And then reported again over the weekend, there was a football match between Hereford Football Club and Sporting Khalsa Football Club, where the goalie, the Sikh goalie, was apparently, allegedly, was abused by some idiots in the crowd, some racist idiots in the crowd, starting shouting racist abuse at the goalie. So, rightly so, the match was called off. And you start to see there's a bit of a pattern here. There seems to be these increasing hate crimes. Why? What is going on? Well, for those of you who might have watched the news, and it only just, I have to say, hit the mainstream news. Over the weekend, here in the UK, we had what is quite possibly the largest mobilisation of the population in protest, certainly in recent history, and possibly ever here in the UK. What was it all about? It was organised, it wasn't actually organised by a guy called Tommy Robinson, but he was, let's say, the symbolic figurehead of this march. The march was entitled Unite the Kingdom. The mainstream media have called it, they've called it the Tommy Robinson March. Now, Tommy Robinson, who I've referred to in the past, he's a figure who the mainstream media have gone to great pains for many years to smear and tarnish, call him an extremist, a fascist, a Nazi, a right-wing thug. I mean, you pick your name. Now, Tommy Robinson, maybe or maybe not some or all of those things, I don't know. He is right-wing, there's no question. He is anti-immigration. He is a very divisive figure. But what I do know for a fact is that the mainstream media, from all, whether it's left or right, have been united in a huge campaign to smear this guy with every name under the sun, beyond anything that is normal, reasonable journalism. In other words, there is an agenda there. So again, whatever your beliefs about Tommy Robinson, I, amongst many others, are very concerned about what is going on here. There is an agenda to smear, certainly Tommy Robinson, any of his followers, as far-right extremists, as Nazis, as fascists. We hear these words just stupidly being used now, completely out of context, but right across social media, even mainstream media now. The words Nazi, fascism, are being used by people who actually don't really understand the true meaning of those words, but they are labelled against people like Tommy Robinson, his supporters, and others on the right side, on the right wing, politically speaking, of politics. Now, that huge march over the weekend was attended by, if you listen to the mainstream media, they said 110,000 people turned up. The largest number that was mentioned, I think, was at Sky News. Anyway, somebody mentioned 150,000. The realistic estimates of turnout at that march was anything between 1 to 3 million people, allegedly, turned up on that march. It's very difficult, obviously, to get the precise number, but the people on the ground reckon there was anything between 1 and 3 million. Yet the mainstream media say there was no more than 110,000 on the whole, and whichever outlet you look at. The mainstream media also labelled it as the Tommy Robinson March. They didn't call it Unite the Kingdom March. They referred to the attendees as far right. Some of the outlets call them far-right Nazis, far-right fascists. They call them xenophobes, racists, far-right. These are the terms used all around mainstream media to label everybody at that march, at that protest. Now, that protest was publicly stated to be a Unite the Kingdom protest. One of the messages was it was anti-uncontrolled immigration. A lot of the message was also centred around the freedom of speech, the fact that we are losing our freedom of speech. We cannot speak freely. Nothing to do with Nazism or fascism or right-wing extremism, etc. A lot of people who attended that march were ordinary, middle-class, working-class, white and ethnic people represented there, including Sikhs were there in attendance. Now, but you wouldn't know that if you watch the mainstream media. The mainstream media have one single narrative, whether it's the left wing or the right wing. The whole media, controlled by who? I don't know, had one narrative. This march was small and they were all right-wing extremists. And yet, I know people who went on that march who are the most ordinary, middle-class people who have no strong views either way, except they are now getting worried and concerned and scared that they are losing their freedom of speech. They cannot speak freely in this country. They cannot have a political opinion that doesn't agree with the agenda. That's what the concern is. And this is why there is an increasing amount of concern amongst the British population. Why this march itself was so popular, because people are starting to wake up and get worried about, hang on, there is an agenda, there is a narrative that is being rolled out across the mainstream media. And I want to draw our audiences parallels to India. We say we have a free press here in the UK and in the Western world. Do we? I'm starting to question that, and so are a lot of people in society, not just here in the UK, but across Europe and indeed across North America. People are starting to wake up to the fact that, hang on, our freedom, our democracy, it may be slightly illusory. We actually might not have the freedom that we thought we had, because there is an agenda that is unfolding. It is an agenda of control that is unfolding. We are starting to lose our freedoms little bit by little bit. Now, I want to play you. This is a statement released by a guy called Bobby Singh. Bobby Singh is an activist, he's a campaigner, he's very high profile on social media. He attended the march, and I just want to play you this. I want to play you his comment about this. Let me turn up the volume for this for you. Hang on.
Central London. I couldn't get off at 5 tube stops. 5 tube stations said no. They said there's too many people. They literally said it's impossible. Even if we allow you up, you won't be able to walk through the station or the crowd. And I said, how big is it? It was so big. Tommy's rally was phenomenal. And then we got off at Embankment and walked over to Parliament Square. As I walked over to Parliament Square, I was hugged, I don't know, by hundreds. I was literally, people walked over. First thing people asked me at Tommy's rally, they just looked, they said, mate, we love you guys. We love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Secondly, if they were a bit naive and they weren't sure, they'd ask me, mate, are you Sikh? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, fuck, I've got to tell you the truth, man. We owe you guys so much. Some ladies, and I'm going to share all of this. I don't make this up. I had camera team and everything with Monty, Jazz, and a few other things with me. The whole purpose was to show and demonstrate the love that we have from all of these people. You consider them to be hateful, racist, fascist, whatever. Actually, I didn't experience any of that. I walked and I was with them for 6 straight hours yesterday, 6-7 straight hours from the afternoon onwards. I didn't experience any racism. I was at front row. I had front row seats. I had front row stage position. I didn't experience a single bit of racism. In fact, if anything, if I'm completely honest with you, they bloody respected me so much that it was unbelievable. They gave me more respect than even their own people. Why? Because they were just so happy to see, actually, there is Sikh people, there are Sikh people prepared to listen to what we're going through, to explain, like, Bobby, honestly, these are the problems. We are not racist. We are not against a particular group. We're solutions-led. We want to fix this great country on. And me being there yesterday was just demonstrating to them, yeah, I'm a Singh, and I'm standing there, and I feel your pain. I'm not racist. I'm not here to turn around and belittle anyone or look at statistics or talk about negative stuff. I'm here because I'm a proud Sikh, and I want you to understand, you can ask for Sikhs to come and help you at any time, because you know what? You guys are great, and I hold no animosity or anything against you for anything that's happened hundreds of years ago, because Akal Purkh Waheguru teaches us that jo bhi kuch duniya de vich hunda oh hukam de insar hunda, everything is with the hukam of Akal Purkh Waheguru. If we lost our Raj, we lost it because we did Gadari. Our own people backstabbed one another and handed it over to them. If we were in their shoes and we could take over England, Punjabis, we would have done the same if they were handing it to us on a plate. But you're doing exactly the same in 2025. You know, you don't understand this great country. It's got a massive, massive issue. It's being broken. Every illegal immigrant that's coming in here is creating more hate for the permanent residents. It doesn't matter what nationality that immigrant is. It doesn't matter what religion they are. We are simply saying we don't want any more because the whole country is breaking apart. If people are getting attacked today, and we're saying, why are the Sikhs always getting attacked first? Why is it that we get attacked? 9/11, we got attacked. Now we're getting attacked. It's because we still have not done enough to be identifiable as a Sikh nation, the great nation. There are still people amongst us that can't comprehend or understand, and we will continue getting attacked. But we just want to bring those attacks down and bring them under control.
And then Bobby goes on. But, so that is really important. Bobby gets it. Bobby's starting to see what the hell's going on now. And let's start to put all these pieces together. And he talks about how we are being deliberately divided. Now, I started my discussion about those right-wing attacks. They're increasing. Right-wing attacks by these lunatics, these extremists, are being encouraged because we have this uncontrolled immigration. This uncontrolled immigration, and we've often said this, and a lot of people are saying, hang on, there must be an agenda, because we could stop it tomorrow. If we really wanted to, we could stop it tomorrow. But why aren't we? This uncontrolled immigration is growing right-wing extremism. It's actually also is growing anger amongst just ordinary citizens who aren't racist. Quote Bobby. These are ordinary citizens who aren't racist, but they're saying, "Hang on, why are you opening the floodgates to people into this country? We can't support it. We don't have the infrastructure. We just don't have the money, the resources to house and feed these people, to give them doctors, dentists, whatever." That's the anger, and yet, as a result of this uncontrolled immigration, we're getting extremist anger attacking the minorities. So now the Sikh community, the Muslim community, all our ethnic minorities are being attacked. Likewise, they're now getting angry because they're saying we're under attack, so we need to take to the streets. So you're starting to see a pattern here. We use this word polarization. This is what's happening. Our society is being angrily divided. This isn't accidental. This is clearly deliberate. There is an agenda at play. I refer back to the mainstream narrative. These far-right extremists, this rally of 110,000 extremists. Well, Bobby was there. They're not extremists. They're ordinary people. But they're angry. They're being driven to anger. They are being driven to the right by some driving force. What is that driving force? This is what we need to wake up to the fact. What is that driving force? Now, there was a comment we had over the last few days in our comments column. Sikhs allying with anti-Muslim activist Tommy Robinson, who in turn is allied with RSS Hindi ties, even having meetings with Taipan Ghosh, who in turn hates Sikhs. What a tangled web. Yes, absolutely. It is a very tangled web. Thank you for your comment on this. Pakistanis will perhaps rethink their support for Khalistan doing this. Yeah, you're starting to see all the pieces falling into place now. Angry division, divide and conquer. You see, those who control, whoever they are, this dark, black, massive, unknown people, in North America they call it the deep state. Here we call it the establishment. Who are these hidden people who hold the levers of power? We don't know. But clearly there is an agenda at play here to divide and conquer us. This is an old maxim, this is an old mantra that the British Empire was built upon, divide and conquer. Those in our audience from certainly the Punjab, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is how the British won India and their empire through a very good, perhaps arguably the greatest military force on the planet at the time. Fine, it's all very well creating that empire. You've got to maintain it. How do they maintain control with such a small number of people? Divide and conquer. That is this tactic being used over and over again now by those who control the levers of power. They are dividing us. They are dividing you. They are dividing the Sikh community. Yes, even the Sikh community is turning in on itself. Look at India, in the Punjab, the Sikh community turning in on itself. We have those who actually we label the fake Sikhs. They are being turned by the establishment, the Indian establishment, to turn on other Sikhs. Here in the UK, we are now seeing Sikhs turning on each other. We've got Bobby Singh turning up to this rally, reporting the truth. These guys at the rally are not racist. They're actually we're all on our same side. But you look at the media, that's not what the media is saying. The media is saying they're all right-wing extremists. They're turning part of the Sikh community against other parts, or against the right wing, or against other people in the UK. They're trying to break up this cohesive society. Sikhs are embedded in British society. They contribute massively. They are loved by the whole British community. Tommy Robinson actually publicly supports the Sikh community. You only need to look at various videos to see how much he loves the Sikh community. He's one of the first to stand up and say how proud he is of British Sikhs for everything they represent. Now, I'm not saying Tommy Robinson is a good figure. He's a very divisive figure. So what? But even he sees how positive the Sikh community are. And yet, and that's what scares the establishment. Tommy Robinson is a force that is uniting this anger. He is a symbolic figure, like Amritpal Singh. These are figures that are forming a nucleus of rebellion against this establishment. That is why the establishment fear these figures. What does the establishment do? It turns you against these figures. It turns you against Amritpal Singh. It turns you against Tommy Robinson. It turns you against anything that might unite us all against them. And they do that through divide and conquer. They are dividing the Sikh community to turn against your supporters, to turn against even those within your own community. I look on social media, I see Bobby Singh, for example, being turned on. Why are you turning up to this rally? They're all racist. Well, as Bobby says, no, they're not. They're our friends. We all actually are fighting the same battle against oppression and control. This is what I referred to last week. We are all united in one battle. This is what whoever they are, these dark powers, this is what they fear. They fear us all uniting to turn against them, because they are trying to control us like the establishment. Now, let me just quickly wrap up my discussion with I want to show you this. This is a great meme. This has been on social media for the last few years, and I love it. This sums up very cleverly. This is how politics has changed, certainly in Europe, and I believe this has happened in North America as well. In the old days, we had the left and the right, and if you were slightly left of centre, a sensible socialist, a Labour supporter here in the UK, for example, or maybe a Democrat in the US, and I'm sure, James, you can talk about the Canadian equivalent. Politics has moved a long way to the left with these weird sort of progressive liberals. They've moved it so far to the left that those who were left of centre are suddenly now finding themselves right of centre. And they're saying, hang on a second. And the Conservatives, who were normally right of centre, are laughing, saying, well, you used to call us fascists. Now we're the fascists, and welcome to our our group now. So even people who were left of centre are now being labelled as right-wing extremists, because this weird progressive left liberal, whatever you want to call them, I don't even know what to call them anymore now, have moved the game so far to the left that anybody who doesn't disagree with them is now labelled a fascist or a Nazi or an extreme right-winger, etc. So this is what's going on. And actually, I couldn't find it for the show, unfortunately. There is a new version of this, and it says 2025, and that person on the left has now been replaced with somebody lying on the ground with a gun. And I think that speaks volume. That's the 2025 equivalent. They don't agree with you, they shoot you. That's the danger now. That is the extreme polarisation. That's where we're heading. Now, thank you for that person who commented, this tangled web. I just quickly, just drew up this very quickly to try and explain, try and visualise what's going on. We, the ordinary people in the middle, we are pushed and pulled by the left and the right to form our opinions. It is those in the middle that are the 80% of the population. We're just the ordinary people who like each other, just want to live a quiet life, who all want to get on with each other. It's probably 80, 90, even 100% of our audience. You are the ordinary people. We're not extremists. We just want to all live in peace and get on with our lives. We don't want to invade countries. We don't want to go to war with anybody. We might disagree with somebody politically, but we don't want to fight them over it. So yeah, fine, whatever, move on. But we are pushed and pulled by the left wing and the right wing extremists on all sides. Now, on the left wing, we have the far left. Now, here in the UK and the US, North America, there are all these communist Antifa, but they are using platforms to persuade us. They're using, for example, the LGBTQ plus lobby. They're using this diversity, exclusive, whatever you call it, inclusivity argument. They're using all these platforms as Trojan horses. They're using these to instill this progressive far left agenda, effectively a communist agenda, on us. But on the other hand, on the right wing, you've got the extreme right wing, the EDL, the English Defence League. They are the racists, the fascists, the British National Party. Tommy Robinson was associated with those people. But you've also got the RSS, the extreme in India. You've got the RSS, the extreme right wing, the nationalists. Again, you know who we're talking about there. Now they're using people like Tommy Robinson as their figureheads to again persuade ordinary people. And yes, our commenter said Tommy Robinson evil, etc. And we've got lots of comments about Tommy Robinson is evil. Well, is he or isn't he? All we do know, he is being used by the extreme far right as a figurehead to push an agenda. And that includes Hindutva. Now, Tommy Robinson is a friend of the Sikhs. We know that because he recognises the Sikhs for the good people that they are. They are an integral part of British society. That's why he likes the Sikhs and he will always fight for the Sikhs. But the RSS are involved with him because they see him as far right. And Tommy Robinson doesn't understand, with all due respect to Tommy, he doesn't understand the nuances of Indian politics. He just sees this huge, powerful media machine of the RSS and thinks, I could use that, I need that, they support me, I must support them. That's why Tommy Robinson is seen in bed with the RSS. If he knew what the RSS actually represented, he probably wouldn't support them. But anyway, that's a different story. But ultimately, so you can see how on the left and the right, these extremists are pulling ordinary people to the left or to the right through their Trojan horses, through these sort of acceptable things like LGBTQ or whatever it happens to be. All the while, who's pulling the strings? Where is the agenda? What's feeding these machines? It's the establishment. Divide and conquer. Remember Bobby Singh's comments? Yeah, the truth. We know the truth. The anger out there is just ordinary people are angry. They're not racist, they're just ordinary people. But they are being driven to anger by the extreme right wing, the extreme left wing, who are engendering, they are growing, deliberately growing the anger. They are turning on each other. We're seeing the left turning on the right, moving further and further apart. We're seeing assassinations now. That's how bad it's getting. We're seeing rapes of Sikh girls from the right wing, etc., etc. You can see, again, the middle ground's disappearing and people are polarising. This is how wars start, civil wars start. People are polarising into left and right, extreme left and right. All the while, the establishment is laughing because they're pulling the strings. It's called divide and conquer. They control us by dividing us, by polarising us into different camps. They hate it when we all unite together, when the 80%, we are many, they are few, when the 80% unite and turn on them, that's when they lose. They can't have that. So they need to divide the 80%, and that's what they're doing. And they, as a result, you see now in the public domain, we're seeing demands for, we need digital ID cards, we need more surveillance because of what's going on, we need more control over illegal activities, we need a cashless society, etc. Control, that's what it's all about. So thank you, Bobby Singh, for being one of the few people who actually recognises what the hell's going on. This is the British Empire reenacted. We are being played, all of us. You in the Sikh community, us in the white community. I don't even like differentiators. We're all in it together. We are the 80%. We are the majority of ordinary, decent people who don't want to fight, argue, whatever. We just want to live happily amongst each other. But we are being divided. We are being played because it's all about control. It's a tired, old tactic, but it works every time, from the British Empire to the 21st century Western democratic world. Divide and conquer, James. Divide and conquer.
Yeah, and it's a theme that we've brought up many a times before in different stories, in different narratives. But again, it just keeps rearing its ugly head because it is true. It is the fact that that is exactly what they want. They want to divide, they want to conquer, they want us to basically implode in ourselves and really go after each other. And that makes their job easy when we fall into that narrative and we give into it and we start going after each other. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and I think our message to the audience is, please don't fall for this. Don't fall into their trap. Wake up to what's going on. You are being divided. You are being turned against each other. We're all being turned against each other. This is why we're seeing the rise of the extreme right and the extreme left. They are being propped up by people like us. Do not be tempted to be made anger and to fall into one of these two camps. We need to unite. We need to fight against this and fight against actually what is going on. There is an agenda at play. It's very hard to know precisely what it is and who's behind it. That's why they find it so easy. But ultimately, we are being played, and they cannot win if we unite. So the appeal to the audience is, please don't get angry. Try and take 10 steps back, look at the bigger picture of what's going on and start talking to each other. Don't get angry with each other. Anyway, James, on that note, let us move on to our comments column. Lots of comments. I've got to rush through these again as we're running out of time as always. But anyway, we had a lovely comment from Jess TV. James, your fabulous coverage of the mental health, thanked by Jess TV there.
There we go. And I really hope that people will let us know, because I did use a Google or a different translating program for that. So please let me know if you've read any of the articles. I did it in Hindi as well as Punjabi and others. So yeah, just let me know if the translation comes through and mostly makes sense. That would be great, because we want to know if that's going to be something that we want to use going forward.
Indeed. Okay. And Saeed Ashmi makes a comment. Shahid Bhagat Singh will be very proud of British Sikhs siding with the British against the other Indians of different faith. Now, I'm assuming this is slightly sort of sarcastic comment. Now, first of all, who was Shahid Bhagat Singh? Shahid Bhagat Singh, he was an iconic Indian revolutionary. He was born in 1907 and he fought massively for Indian independence against the British, but he was executed by the British in 1931 after he assassinated a British officer. But he did become a symbol of the Indian freedom struggle against this colonial rule. So I'm assuming this comment is saying, look, why are British Sikhs siding with the establishment to turn on other Indians? Well, again, I think the nuances of this, we don't have time to dig deep into this comment. I wish we did have time, because there's a lot contained within this comment that we need to pick apart. It's not as simple as that. British Sikhs are fighting for, essentially, they're fighting for themselves, but British Sikhs are also fighting for Britain as a whole. They are, as I keep talking, they are huge contributors to British society, and most of them hopefully see themselves as British. Therefore, they fight for modern Britain. Modern Britain isn't the British Empire of 1947 and before. It is not that. Modern Britain is something else. Modern Britain is a multicultural, generally speaking, happy society of many different ethnicities and cultures, including the Sikh culture. That is what British Sikhs, on the whole, are fighting for. But I'm sure our audience will correct me if I'm wrong on that and have your own opinions. Do let us know on that. But yeah, James, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that, isn't it?
I believe that it is. And I mean, when you look at, whether it is them fighting for the entire society, whether it is them fighting for the rights of the oppressed, I mean, it's all about coming together. And yeah, it's something that, well, we're all different faith and we can come together as one. And that is just a huge step forward for somebody to come out and say it publicly, and that's what we need, more people to do that from different faiths.
Indeed. And I think the real message on this is what I've just been lecturing about for 20 minutes, is about unity.
Right.
We need, and this is actually what the Gurdwara in Smethwick said, it's all about unity. We need to stand together against a common enemy. We all have this common enemy. The 80% of our society have a common enemy. We mustn't divide. We must not be divided. So I would say in response to this is don't fall for their division. Don't fall into that trap of trying to divide us, all of us, against each other. Dipper, likewise, your comment about Tommy Robinson or the EDL, you really think he cares about Sikhs? Actually, he does. I'm afraid I have to disagree with this. He does care about Sikhs because he sees them for what they are. Unfortunately, he is naive in different respects about the RSS. That's a different argument. How dare we have a Tommy picture next to Bayam Retpal saying, apologies, it's a thumbnail, I'm sorry if it offends you, but as I say, there are deeper nuances in this, and likewise I would add to that, please don't fall into this trap of division. And it's anger is a very quick emotion to fall into. It's very easily driven by anybody who knows how to push buttons. They know how to push your buttons, and they are pushing your buttons. Don't fall into that trap, James.
Absolutely. And you've got to give some leeway there when it comes to the online world. And it is just, we got to stop being just so divisive and going after everything. And, we can learn from each other. And that's why Angus and I are here. We want to learn from our viewers as well as taking our journey here to learn. So again, it's all a learning process, Angus.
Indeed. So, Dipper, thank you for your comment. I appreciate your anger on that. Totally. But what I would say, peel back the anger, look at the bigger picture of what's going on, and you might just start to see you're being played, mate. Happy U13, thank you for this link. Again, I don't have time really to talk too much about it. It's about grooming gangs. Great interview of those Sikhs who are fighting the grooming gangs. It's a fascinating interview. Please do click on that link in the comments and watch that interview. Gobind Singh, what is the solution for this? Oh yes, this is about the water wars. India weaponizing water. I had my discussion with Layla. We had, again, an in-depth facts, a true facts discussion about the Punjab floods, what's really going on the ground. Lots of comments after that. Thank you for all of you who contributed to this debate, as many of you did. Bobby Singh was the same. Gobind Singh did talk personal involvement in this. He said, your village is safe, but your relatives have drowned. Well, huge condolences and thoughts are with you on that. I feel suing the Indian government at, WTO, that's the World Trade Organization. I don't think you get very far there, but what I would say is thoughts with you. Keep fighting. We know what the answer is. As many of our commenters have said, there is only one answer, James. That is Khalistan.
Absolutely. And I think that when you look at the WTO, you look at the WEF, you look at all of these different international organizations, and they are focused on the members who are contributing as well as the members who are in need. They are not looking to the outside in terms of unestablished sovereign nations yet. I think that, is the best way to put that.
Indeed, absolutely. And as many of our commenters have said, Bobby Singh says, we've got to stop paying tax to the central government. We've got to fight back against it some way. Absolutely. Don't let our young join the Indian army, etc. I totally agree. I couldn't say anything better than myself. And as Jasvinder Singh says, you know who was behind it. And it was, as you said, India had planned this 4 months ago. Khalistan must take control of its waters and dams. There is only one solution. This is the conclusion that an increasing number of people, both in the Punjab and outside the Punjab, are realising there is only that one solution. Happy U13 also says, a very informative programme, thank you. And then Mr. Scott's smile is contagious. Well, I'm so thank you. I've got a compliment at last, James. There's not just a James fan club. I've got somebody who likes my smile.
There we go. And we'll just have to encourage you to do it more often, Angus.
Absolutely. Well, make me happy. You've got to send in some comments to make me happy. Mandeep, thank you, by the way. Happy for that comment. Lovely comment. Mandeep Sanger, thank you. You give right news. Exactly. It's the truth. We need to get the truth out there. As you've seen on the mainstream media, those protests over the weekend, the truth. Bobby Singh saw the truth and has reported it. Don't believe what you see in the mainstream media, whether here in the West and include North America and Europe now. The mainstream media has an agenda, as it does the Gaudy media. The irony, James, that we talk about the Gaudy media and their fake narrative, we're seeing it in the West increasingly so.
Absolutely, and that's where you need to do your own research, and that's something that I say, whether it's this program or anywhere else in life, talking to people as a journalist. Do your research. Don't just go with one narrative and stick with it. Look at the research yourself and get your own opinion formed on the facts that you are able to uncover.
Indeed. And Gurpreet Singh Asran follows it up saying, great job, true information. God bless. Thanks again, guys. Well, God bless you guys. We couldn't do this show without you and your comments and, of course, your support. And Jasvinder Singh wraps us up with Khalistan is the only solution. Khalsa rule will be based on the Constitution, which, of course, is the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Of course it will. And no better document, indeed, to build a new empire upon, indeed, a new sovereign nation, James.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's the best way to end it right there, I think, Angus.
Indeed. And hopefully, if I've pressed all the right buttons, I think we got there in the end. Yes, indeed we have. I will wrap Perspectives up for another day. Please don't forget to keep those comments coming in. We do appreciate them. Loads of great comments. Criticisms, opinions, thoughts. You let us know your thoughts. We don't get it right all the time. We all have our own opinions, but we do love to talk about them. Don't forget you can message us directly at message@sutlojtv.com. Something you'd like to bring to our attention directly, as many of you have done. Thank you for those. But that is it for another day. Thanks so much for watching. It's a goodbye from me. It is a goodbye from James.
Stay safe, everyone.
You have, of course, been watching Perspectives. We will see you next time.